If California were a country, it would rank as the world's fifth largest economy, ahead of India and just behind Germany, but far from the famous coast, in a small kitchen on the outskirts of Fresno.
So the water.
The taps have run dry.
No, nothing. You just learn to adapt. You just have to adapt. I hate going to the laundromat. I hate taking bird baths, but I have no choice.
Eddie Sandoval's is one of a wave of dry wells sweeping through California's Central Valley. Thousands reporting water shortages so far this year amid California's second year of drought.
So we're getting about 30 calls a day to the drought line.
Marlies Diaz with a local nonprofit Self-Help Enterprises says her team has contractors installing 2,500-gallon cisterns outside of homes where wells have went dry every day of the week.
I've been to third world countries, and sometimes when I see residents going through what they're going to, it reminds me of a third world country condition. It's like camping in your own home.
But surrounding Sandoval and much of the entire San Joaquin Valley is a sea of green, a cornucopia of fruits and vegetables and nuts.
There are probably 200,000 people or more in a very wealthy state like California that don't have access to safe, reliable, affordable water and sanitation. And during a drought, it's much worse for those communities. Their wells dry up because deeper wells for wealthy agricultural farms overpump groundwater, and groundwater drops. They have to get water delivered to them. That's a serious unresolved problem in California, one that we should have solved many, many years ago, and it's made much more extreme by drought.
Most of California's water comes from the Sierra Nevada. Snowpack that in normal years will melt and run into a massive complex of reservoirs, canals, aqueducts, hydroelectric plants, and pump stations known as the California State Water Project. Engineered in the middle part of the last century to move water from where most of it falls, in Northern California, to the south. But this year, it didn't work like that.
Not only did we get less snow than we expected, but it disappeared a lot sooner, and that's just another fingerprint of human-caused climate change.
It's because, meteorologists say, climate change in California is really a story of extremes.
We can say the temperature in California is higher, and we're talking about physics. That physics tells us that that warmer temperature means more moisture in the atmosphere for those extreme rainfall events. It means more drought because we're going to see more moisture evaporated out of plants and soil. And it also means that we see more wildfires because there's more fuel and heat to keep them going.
Loss to evaporation and absorption has been calculated to be enough to fill the quickly emptying Folsom Reservoir. Canals that should be flowing with water are as dry as a desert. State water managers severely cut surface water allocations and even eliminated them, leaving farmers to rely nearly completely on groundwater pumping.
The variation between very wet years, very dry years seems to be getting more pronounced. And so what that means then again is we have to look at the State Water Project, how it integrates with other systems, looking at having flexibility in that system to both take advantage of wet years and store that water so that we have that buffer for drier years.
But there is no buffer now, and as groundwater is overpumped, the consequences range from subsidence, where the land literally sinks and could damage critical infrastructure, to the more obvious, where water trucks run by Eugene Keeney deliver water 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, to homeowners whose wells have run dry.
I've noticed it's got worse since they cut all the canal and the flood irrigation off, because all the farmers have drilled wells now. And it's the long straw takes the short straw, you know. They're 1,000 feet deep. Most houses ain't over 300.
All of a sudden, no water with all these farmers planting almonds. To me, that it just the water levels have gone down.
Farmers have adapted to less surface water over the years by planting crops that will produce more dollars per drop of water. California's agriculture is a $50 billion industry and a thirsty one that sucks up a little less than half the state's water supply. A finite supply, even for farms.
Drought hit us, right in the face, just flat out when we ran out of water in one of the wells.
Lisette Garcia works all day on her family's farm and hasn't been able to take a real shower at home since June.
Honestly, right now I feel like I'm living not even in the US. Like I'm living out in the village somewhere because I have to like bring out buckets of water to do like daily necessities such as shower, such as using the toilet, such as washing the dishes.
An emergency that isn't even Garcia's biggest concern or priority, as her farm's irrigation is depending on a remaining well that they don't even know if or when it could go dry too.
Well, we're still trying to measure out how many days a week we can water. We fill out every day, yeah.
Garcia has already sacrificed part of her harvest.
This is what happens without water. So there's vegetables here that I would have taken to stores where they would have been delivered, to farmers markets that I would have attended and had like a variety of vegetables, and of course the farm stand. So very little of this made it to the farm stand or to anywhere.
This is some of the most fertile and productive land in the country. It feeds not only America, but also the world. But without water, it's just dirt.
Farmers are fallowing fields and ripping out orchards. Researchers with the University of California's Extension Service and UC Berkeley estimate eventually 1 million acres could be forced out of production as restrictions tighten, even on groundwater.
Intensity of and the speed of the change, I think, is taking a lot of us, including the science community, by surprise. We're seeing changes in the Arctic that are faster than we expected. We're seeing drought intensities in the West increasing faster than we expected. And we have a water system, we have a society built on assumptions about the last century that no longer hold in the current century.
And so farmers like Garcia are rushing to catch up with the climate.
You physically take care of it.
Yeah, I'm physically carrying that.
And you pour it just on a plant?
Yeah, so I'm physically that's why I have the baby ones, because I can carry these easier.
Garcia is fighting for her livelihood with every last drop, watering her critical crops by hand until 10 in the evening many days.
You know, like if I would have wanted to quit, I would have quit already. Yeah, because getting the job is easier than doing this.
Researchers from UC Davis say up to $5 billion in ag-related losses occurred during the last drought from 2014 to 2016. It takes much less for loss to be felt on farms like Garcia's, who even tries to salvage something by saving the seeds of her shriveled up produce.
That's my money right there. Yeah, so that's why it's there. I'm taking care of it.
It's easy to see by the grain where much of the water is going, but it's tougher to point the finger of blame.
Just the will of God, you know, I can't do anything about it, you know, and yet we need the green, we need the food, you know, we feed the world, so we gotta have green here.
As the Golden State turns brown, the California dream for some is turning to dust.